Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to USTA Florida's Here to Serve podcast. My name is Laura Bowen, and I'm the Executive Director at USTA Florida. It's the end of May, and we're tackling a hot topic here in Florida, which is high school tennis as our season comes to a close. And I have three incredible experts to talk about the work we're doing in this space, and particularly how we're focusing on growth. First up, we have our very own USTA Florida President, Phil Girardi, joining the podcast. Welcome back, Phil.
Hi, Laura.
Joining Phil is another veteran of the podcast, Thad Hawks. Thad is our youth play coordinator working in our youth team. And actually, Thad also was a high school tennis coach. So welcome back to the podcast, Thad.
Great to see everybody again.
And once again, we're happy to welcome back Coach Tom Beard from the Lake Nona Lions, who are right down the street from us. We're happy to have you back on the podcast, Coach, and hopefully the season has gone well for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, let's dig in. So before we kind of get into the meat of our topic today, just as a refresher for those who haven't sort of seen the previous podcast we did, can each of you share just a little bit about the role that you currently play in high school tennis and how you got involved? And Phil, maybe I'll start with you and then go to Coach Beard and Thad.
Okay. Well, currently I'm not, active in high school tennis. I'm a college coach, but I do a lot of recruiting. And, on my teams before, we have brought in players who have just played high school, not huge, tournament players or whatever. So, we're always looking. I love to get around the districts and look for talent for that. In the past, before I became a college coach, of course, I helped with Admiral Farragut Academy. I wasn't the coach, but they would train at our facility, and the numerous junior team tennis players and juniors that we had at our program at Treasure Bay who became high school players. So, it's a big love of mine, and I think it's just such a huge part of the pathway for tennis players.
Awesome. Coach Beard, how did you get involved in coaching high school tennis?
I'm the head coach at Lake Nona High School, and realistically, I badgered the previous coach so that I could help out. And then eventually she moved on and left me in charge.
So you were persistent. We call that persistence.
Yes, persistence.
Persistence. I like that. It was a good succession plan because, as it turns out, the team did pretty well when you took over. So
not because of me, but yes.
Oh, I don't know about that. All right, Thad, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got involved in high school tennis and what your current role is now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I, like a lot of coaches, I started coaching here in Florida mainly because I had sons who were playing tennis, and the school they were at was looking for a junior high coach at the time, and started there, and then eventually moved up to the high school team when my oldest son was playing high school tennis. Then he moved to a different school. Our younger son was still there, so I continued to coach him until he moved on as well. And so I was at the school for 9 years. And then obviously now working in my 10th year with USTA Florida. I've been involved with some high school initiatives, and we've seen some things take hold and trying to get even more. So it's been a long passion of mine.
And happy decade with the section, Thad. We're so happy you've been with us that long, and you definitely are our resident high school expert, and we've benefited greatly from having you. So, Phil, my first two questions are really for you. And the first one is, why is high school tennis a priority for USTA Florida?
Well, like I said, I've been involved for a long time, and we've seen just hundreds, if not thousands, of kids over the years, at the high school districts. It's a priority for us right now because I really truly feel like the high school tennis players are the most underserved group of tennis players we have in our section. It's not a USTA program, so we do a bit with it, but I think there's much more we can do with that. I think some of the quality has gone down in some of the play. I think we need some advocacy moving forward to make high school tennis stand out with the other sports in our section, in our state. So I just think there's more growth and more that we can do for the game, with high school tennis.
That's great. And I have a follow-up question for you. So obviously this is a priority, and you definitely made it a priority because earlier this year you created a task force to specifically focus on the ways that we can provide better education and training for high school tennis coaches. Can you talk about why developing coaches is so important in the high school space?
Right. Well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, right now we do have, Coach Beard is one of them, very passionate coaches in with our players, but there's not enough. Going around the state again, you see a lot of coaches that it becomes, their part-time job. They are just one of the teachers at the school, and they need somebody to have a team, and they're not very well educated in the sport of tennis, or how to handle a group of kids. And number one, for them and for the coaches and for the people that are volunteering, it's almost like a volunteer job anyway, because the pay is not good, and it's long hours, and it becomes somewhat more of a passion than it is a job. But there is no training out there for high school coaches. So as far as what should I do, best practices, how to take these non-players or very raw players and bring them and develop them as the season goes on. So, we started last year with our community coaches initiative, when we noticed that we had high school coaches wanting to come out and get some training. So I believe it's going to be very important to get a standardized training together for the high school coaches, whether they're, first year coaches or second year coaches, if they're newbies, if they've been coaching for a few years and want more information and more education. And then also we should have those things out there also for, those high school coaches that have been out there for a number of years, and to give them more tools to even be better with their kids.
That's a great overview. I mean, I know, and as funny as it sounds, that you're overworked, underpaid, and it's a super challenge. We still get incredible people like Coach Beard, who are willing to take on this because they just love the kids and they love coaching. So, Coach Beard, you have been a very important voice already on the task force that Phil created. Your background as a coach who was new to tennis has really challenged us to think differently about what we're offering in terms of education and resources. Can you share with us some of the observations and challenges you have had as a new coach?
Well, I think one of the things you need to take into consideration for people in my position is there is the coaching of the sport, but then there is dealing with everything at the school. And I coached other sports at the school, so I had that coming in. I could handle creating a program, not just coaching a team. And that's kind of the approach that I've taken to it, is that we're trying to create a program. So that part I was okay on. But the tennis part, and although I know tennis, I grew up playing with my dad, and my dad introduced me to the sport to me, but I never played for my high school or beyond. It was just a casual sport for fun for me. It's learning how to the right language, knowing all the terms for everything, and I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about, like, when you say the word section. Well, what does that?
What does that mean?
Right. I'm not coming from a tennis world, so those are new terms for me, or were new terms for me. And I think that's the biggest challenges for people that maybe don't have a tennis background, is to not feel out of place and not feel like I'm not welcome. And not that I ever didn't feel welcome, but I'm sure some would. Because no one in our profession wants to look like we don't know what we're doing. And I think that's been the biggest challenge for other coaches, as I talk to coaches at other schools, as they don't, and they're not going to ask for help because they're not comfortable admitting that I don't know something. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge. And then for people that are new to coaching, learning what you have to do at the school, everything from field, like you're taking kids off campus, you have to deal with money, you have to deal with parents, you have to deal with scheduling. I mean, all those things that are incorporated. I think it's a lot to take on. So that was kind of where I started when I came into it.
Awesome. That's a great perspective. And I think it's it's really important to share that, because for all of those people out there who think they're the only one that doesn't know things, to hear more people say, oh, no, we don't know these things either. So we're all in this boat together. And as USTA, we want to be able to provide answers, resources, and make everyone feel comfortable when they come into this space. So, Thad, you are also on the task force and have been very heavily involved in both the district and the state championships for many years for us. Could you tell us more about how those competitions are run and what USTA Florida can do to support those host sites, coaches, and players?
Yeah, absolutely. So our new platform that we've been using for tournaments the last couple of years, we served tennis. Last year for the state high school championships that were held in Central Florida was the first time that we'd used the new team platform on serve, and it really worked flawlessly. The tricky part for us was the inputting of players with their rosters who may not have had a USTA number. And so a lot of that was created. One of the outreaches we've made this year through the FHSAA, and I know they've put that word out already to the coaches, is to make sure that their players have that USTA number, which is still free to juniors, which is a great thing. So they can sign up and get that account. So when we get ready to move beyond districts and regional to state, we have that database of players so the system can really be used and used to its best ability. I know that USTA National is also making a push with the platform and using high school coaches from different areas around the country. And I think they've actually reached out to Tom and maybe a couple of other Central Florida coaches to kind of beta test the system to see how it works, to where a coach would go in and Tom would go in and claim his school, like Nona High School, would put his roster on that list so that the players are in there in the system, and that will help in so many different areas. It would give us a much easier way to capture a database so we can communicate to players, to parents, to coaches, other things outside of high school tennis that we offer, but would also make them aware of our high school tennis webpage that was created last year that does have a lot of really good information on it and can be bolstered even more so as we get some content from coaches, from players, and so on. And we look forward to that, and we'll be doing the same for the FHSA this year. I know we've had a couple of tournament directors reach out to us, a couple of sites, to try to help them set up their district tournaments. And so we're trying to help with that.
Oh,
and then obviously I'll be assisting the Greater Orlando Sports Commission sponsors the high school state tournaments. And so we'll be helping them with the setup for the state championships again this year.
Excellent. I know, Thad, you've been a great resource, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the platform and maybe where it's going in the future in a minute. Bill, I want to come back to you for a couple of reasons. One, as a college coach, you mentioned you do spend a lot of your time recruiting players from high school. How important is it for players who aspire to make a college team to play high school tennis? And then I have a follow-up question for you after that.
Okay, I think it's a must. If I have two similar ability players and one has played on a team before, being in my recruiting, and one that has not, a lot of times you're going to go after the player that's already been part of a team. So college is team, it's all team, and I get the upper level, the D1s, it's a little bit different, but go out to the campus and watch some of them. It's total team concept once you get into college. And some players that it's always them against the world, out there in every tournament. And then when they get into that team environment, it's a little tough for them to realize that they're part of something bigger than just themselves. So I think it's great, and I'll take just a quick sidetrack on that for our teaching pros in our section. Mm-hmm. And, there's a number of teaching pros that say, don't play for your school, don't play high school tennis. It's no good. And just two things there. One is let your players play and be the champions they are for their school, especially if they're good. There's a number of academies that are playing in the high school system. You see them, especially when you get up to the state level. So let your players play. And I'm going to just say one of the reasons with the teachers and in the organizations is because they're afraid for them to leave their nest during the week and go into a high school practice. But we've had a number of players that have, done both, been at an academy and go and play high school tennis. So I think it's very important for them. And I look for that, your UTR or whatever is only one thing college coaches look at. So I just think it's a great experience, and it's great for the ego, in your school if you're a great tennis player, why not play for your school?
Well, you mentioned, the advice for coaches. My follow-up question is, what would you say maybe to the parents or the kids themselves who are so focused only on tournaments or individual play? What is it that they're missing, or what is it that they don't, that you could say to them to say why high school gives them, more rounded play or different opportunities?
Well, and sometimes, and I get it, because sometimes as parents, you go out, maybe there's mismatches out there. It's not always the best match in the world. And that's why we want to see high school tennis flourish more. And we want to see more of our players in high school tennis. It should be part of the recruitment for college. It should be that farm system out there, just like in football and just like any other sport, and we need to try to develop it that way. Parents, I have my thoughts on parenting. Be great supporters and go out there, but be very realistic about your child, about where the end goal is with your child and your player, because not everyone is going to turn pro. And again, some kids get led down this path that you just keep on here and here and here, you're going to become pro. But college is a great, next step. And there's not just D1 out there. There's many of small colleges, Division II, Division III, where JUCO, that NAIA, that just, there's plenty of opportunities to play and get your education at the same time. So parents, be open to it. Be the supporters, and don't be the only supporting cast for your child and your player. Let their teammates become that nice peer supporting group for your player, and they can learn a lot from that.
That's a great segue to my next question, which was for Coach Beard. What benefits have you seen to the kids who have been playing on your high school tennis team? And what advice would you give to the parents of the student athletes that are playing in high school?
Well, I want to say Phil stole one of the things I wanted to say about often players are told not to play high school tennis. So I'll just echo what Phil said. The biggest thing to me is I came from a background coaching other sports, team sports. And so I know all the advantages that come with team sports about learning cooperation, teamwork, leadership ability, all those things that are thrown in that come with just that. And then dealing with parents and having parents support their kids in that avenue. So bringing that into tennis, it is difficult, especially when the kids are first coming to your team, to explain to them, we're a team. In high school tennis, our line one players can actually go advance to states as an individual player, as a doubles player, and then as a team. And it's been a big focus at Nona is that we go team first, then doubles, then singles. It's kind of the order that we do it in. That because we're talking about team first. But even then, I had a player that played on the state championship last year, and he's not playing this year because he wants to get recruited for college, and he thinks playing in an ITF or playing in a whatever tournaments is going to be what gets his UTR to a 13, and that's going to make him eligible to be drafted, to be recruited to play at other schools. So I think where Phil was talking about talking to private coaches and telling their kids that it's okay to play high school tennis, I think that the same thing goes to parents. The parents need to understand that the value of being a part of a team, and hearing Phil say that makes me so happy that there's a college coach saying, no, I want a kid that has gone through this experience. Yeah. I know for us, I tell kids all the time, do you want to play college tennis? And they're like, yeah. I go, you realize you're already on a college tennis team. You're on it now. I mean, you just happen to be in high school. But the things we do are very much to try to promote that both with family and then with the team itself. So.
And that's a great perspective, because we've done podcasts before with other college coaches, and they say the exact same things that Phil is echoing, that it's more than just the UTR or the USTA ranking. They look at the character of the player and how they participate with others, because that is such an important part of the team dynamic. So, parents understanding that and being prepared to go to a coach and say, no, I want my child to play high school tennis. That's very important for me, because that is a component of the future of wherever they're going to play. And it's also a life skill, being able to work with others and people that are different than you and have, different strengths and weaknesses. So it's really nice for us to keep emphasizing that point over and over and over again. Going to pivot just a little bit. Thad, you mentioned this earlier, and I want to kind of come back to the digital side. You are serving on our behalf on a USTA Digital Council that is testing a digital platform for high school tennis. So it's on Serve Tennis, but it's actually modeled on what ITA uses on the college side. Can you tell us where we are in that process as Florida, and maybe what features the new platform would have for coaches and players that maybe they don't see right now?
Yeah, so I know the platform has been beta tested in several sections that have been very involved in the high school space, and they're continuing to get feedback on it, how it's performing, how it's working, the ease of access for coaches to input their players' rosters, scoring when they have their head-to-head matches, and so on. And I think that is the end goal, is to be able to have a system where every high school in Florida would be able to go into the platform, put their roster in, put their schedule in, be able to create a scorecard for each match and put those scores in, so that all of it is being essentially captured and tracked all season long. And you see it with other sports. I know Coach Beard is familiar with this with basketball, football. There are sites out there where you could go on every single day and see, football scores, basketball scores, baseball scores. And I think that is one of the areas where a sport like tennis is certainly looking to move that direction, to where you could see how a team is doing, see how your son or your daughter is doing in their matches, have a record of that. And then I know Nicola, who works on the platform, also has a system that provides live scoring. So that may actually could be integrated into it as well, where matches are being played, especially at like the state championship level, where you could actually see live scoring of those matches taking place, which would really be a lot of fun. And I think anything that we can do to make it easy, accessible for coaches, players, to where they can see their results, and also give us the ability to have the back and forth communications with those coaches, whether it's a longtime coach or a new coach. Anything that we can do to make access to them easier, and then access to us easier, I think is really important.
Well said, Thad. Thank you for the update. We look forward to seeing that maybe in the fall when we get a little bit closer to our next season. Phil, as part of our full high school initiative, we've talked about the task force, but we actually have a broader initiative, and we're looking at ways where we can grow high school tennis through additional programs. Not every kid is going to make their high school tennis team, right? But we don't want to discourage them from playing. What do you see as key opportunities for high school age kids to play on a team, maybe outside of that high school experience, either because it's not available to them, or maybe they just aren't at the place where they can make the team yet?
Right. Well, number one, there are a number of coaches thought they're doing no cut, which is great. It becomes like JV you can't really call it JV, but team tennis is just a great place for kids to learn how to play with a team and learn doubles. Coach Beer was talking about doubles earlier. In college, it's very important, the doubles. So I think seeing junior team tennis and team tennis with youth, we need to help bolster that as well. We need opportunities for kids to play in that as well, because a lot of kids that play high school tennis, they come out in January, try out, make the team, or they don't make the team. And then there's a number of players that when districts happen and they don't advance, then they hang up the racket, and then we'll see them again next January. But, programming for some team programming outside of that would be great too. I know we have pockets of middle school tennis, around the state as well. And that's also another opportunity. When team tennis was big here, I'm just going to talk about Pinellas County. When Pinellas County was big, you would see the number, say 2 or 3 and down in each lineup, and almost every high school was populated with kids that were part of the team tennis program in our area. I mean, we don't see that as much anymore after the pandemic because team tennis hasn't get picked up again. So again, I'm really looking forward to that. And I think as a section, we should look anywhere as far as just it doesn't have to be a full season of team. It could be a couple of weekends where we put kids together on teams and have them play together to just get that practice in so it becomes more of a year-round sport. Again, tournaments are very intimidating. Tournaments, again, just with parents as your only support system, it's not always the best experience out there. Although the tournament system has gotten a lot better with the different levels of play. But I would love to see us to help expand our junior team tennis again to where that becomes, say, the farm system of the high school tennis, which then becomes the farm system for, further opportunities.
I mean, I think that's so important. We talk about that all the time, the kids that don't make their team. And I know that Liz Spicer and her group, I think we have 12 or 13 now team tennis coordinators in the state. Even in Central Florida, this is the first time we've had one in a really long time. And I think the demand for more team play is high. So anyone out there who wants to start a program or would like to help coordinate one, we definitely want to grow in that space. So please reach out to us anytime, and we'd be happy to work with you to get that in place. So my last question is for everyone. What is the most important thing that USTA Florida can do to get more youth playing high school tennis? Phil, I'll start with you this time.
Okay. And I'll let the others talk about their strengths. I believe that USTA Florida, the biggest thing we can do right now is advocacy. So there's a number of ways. That's being great advocates with our players, being great advocates with our parents, being great advocates with school systems around, counties, around our state. And I think there needs to be some lobbying with our state, FHSAA, to help. We want to see our sport become more predominant, in the high school area. So I think advocacy for better courts at high schools, advocacy for, better coaches, better coaching association, partnerships. So for me, I think one of the biggest things we can do is be that great advocate, that great mouthpiece for what high school tennis really means to our section. And we are here to promote and serve, all tennis for all, and not just our USTA programs. And I think this is a huge one for us.
Well said. All right, Thad, you're up next. What do you think is the most important thing that USTA Florida can do to get more youth playing high school tennis?
Yeah, so a couple of things to touch on kind of what you just briefly spoke about, Laura, was our junior team tennis group with Liz Spicer and Jillian Neiman and our local youth play coordinators out there who are really trying very hard to promote more what we call fall ball programs or out of season play to keep those players who may play a fall sport but still like to play tennis and give them those opportunities. And I think a lot of those folks are doing a really good job, and I think continuing to tell those stories of those successes for that particular program can really go a long way in growing it more throughout the entire state. And the other thing that we've done a good job and I think we should continue. We'll obviously continue to do is to tell the stories of those players who have been successful in Florida, who've been at a very high level. because I still think there is a bit of a misperception that our best players don't play high school tennis well. It was just 3 years ago, Ben Shelton, who's a name we all know, was playing for Gainesville Buchholz and is now top 40 in the world. Alana Wolfberg from right here in Central Florida set the individual 4A state singles individual championships, beating Chris Everett's record of 3. She's in her senior year at Oklahoma State, top 100 in the nation. Ben's sister, Emma Shelton, plays for the University of Florida. So many. Randy Wilson, who's on the wall in our office, plays for Florida Gulf Coast. So these, and played for Miami Palmetto. Their team won the state championship. Tom knows this as well. His 2019 team, or 2020 team, which didn't get to play because of COVID, was a phenomenal team that in all likelihood would have had a very good chance at winning state that year, and his team last year. So continuing to tell those stories of our players who play very high level tennis, but also play for their high schools, I think can go a long way in breaking down that misnomer or those barriers to kids that are coming into high school that don't think it's worth their time to play, that once they get on that team and see the atmosphere of it would really change their mind and their perception.
Thank you so much, Thad, for just mentioning that and going through that roster of names, because I think that is so important in influencing the parents as well, to say these are great success stories of kids who played high school tennis. Coach Beard, you get to have the final word here. You've got the president of our organization. You got us here. It's your time. We don't take things personally here. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what's that one thing that we can do to get more youth playing high school tennis in Florida.
Well, I think the word that I would like to focus on is the word opportunity, and is to give the kids the opportunity to do stuff, or all the variety of stuff of what Thad and Phil have already talked about. What you've talked about, that kids just need an opportunity. Some of that is cost that stops them. Some of it is lack of coaches. Not even a coach that doesn't know what they're doing, but they just don't have a coach. And I'm not even talking about a coach. I'm talking about like a coach at the high school. Like that type of stuff, I think is very, very important. I also think that a bigger media presence. I mean, if you want people to know how high school tennis could grow, we need a bigger media presence. So doing a podcast like this is wonderful. But if you want to get kids active, we need to go into their world, not ask them to come into ours. Yeah. And so I think social media needs to be a much bigger presence with the section, and the dirty word right now, but to say TikTok is an amazing place, because that's what kids look at. And that's how you get to them and tell them about opportunities, as well as reps from USTA Florida to literally go to schools. Here at the campus, we have 22 high schools in Orange County. Every one of those high schools should come to the campus, like a field trip, whatever, to just show what it is. I purposely try to play schools around our district that are in some of the lower socioeconomic groups, but I invite them to come to the campus just so they can see the campus. I mean, I can already tell you the results of the match before they get there, but that's not important. It's to see the campus and to play there with the stands and the people and just so much tennis. And so that's my opportunity, and then social media to let people know about the opportunity.
So I'll put a challenge out there. My marketing director is going to kill me for this podcast, but I'm just going to say it anyway, and then she could kill me later. If we ever create a TikTok account, your kids are going to be the admins for it, and they're going to have to post the content, because we're all too old and out of we're not cool enough to do that here.
I didn't say it, but I totally thought that. I didn't want to say it.
But if they were willing to populate it, there might be a chance that we actually do one. That's the biggest hurdle to those channels, is keeping that content fresh. And these kids have so much energy and ability to do that and think of really cool things. So I'm going to follow up on that one. If she doesn't kill me when I mention it to her, we might be coming back to you, Coach Beard, to see if your kids would like to go on a rotation, and we'll give them community service hour or volunteer service hours to do TikTok for us. Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much. It's been a pleasure, as always. You all continue to lead the way and do wonderful things in this area. I know we'll do another podcast later this year, and I'm sure we'll have more news in the fall. But just thank you all for taking the time for me today and for all you do. It's appreciated.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. And hey, good luck next week, Coach.
Thank you. I'll take it.
For those of you who are listening to the audio-only version of this podcast, be sure to check out USTA Florida's YouTube channel where you can see the full video version. And for all episodes of the Here to Serve podcast, including topics and dates, visit USTAFlorida.com/here to serve. Thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful rest of your day.